Dallas Races Nets, first and third Sunday, 8 p.m., W5FC. This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9. Ham Fixin's Net, first and third Monday, 7 p.m., W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anybody need to use the repeater before Skynet? This is Infab BB, net control. This is Infab BB. My name is Bill, and I'll be your net control for this session of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet. Skynet is a weekly event called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy and space. Purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime sky and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, your comments, and your suggestions for this net. This is Infab BB, Skynet Net Control. Stations with priority or emergency traffic can enter the net at any time by using a pro sign, break in your call sign. Is there any emergency traffic or priority at this time? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without directions from your net control. That's myself. Infab BB. And stations are reminded to identify the end of your transmission. This weekly net operates at 146.88 megahertz with a PLTO of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are possible using W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. And I am looking at, I logged into Echolink looking at what's going on over there. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome, but you do not need to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long, structured in several parts: general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events, the discussion topic of the evening, what's up? Was up. Space exploration and space history, the constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, and visible satellite passage over the next couple of days if we have time, and astronomical questions and answers, followed by the 73 round where we say goodbye. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So now let's start with short time check-ins. If you can't stay very long, want to check in, please do so now. Come now with your call sign, name, and your location. Short time check-ins. Skynet and 5BB net control.
Whiskey Alpha 5, Romeo Foxtrot Golf, Rollin, North Dallas, short time.
Recognize Roland. Hi, Roland. W5RFG. Do any other short time check-ins? Now let's go to RF check-ins. We'll do Echolink later. RF check-ins. Please come now with your name, your call sign, your location.
Kilo Golf 5 from Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob Dallas.
This is Alpha Golf 9er, Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas, AG9SG.
Kilo India 5, Uniform Alpha, Uniform, David in the seat.
Kilo Golf 5, Charlie Kilo X-Ray, Gregory in Addison.
Okay, let's pause there. Recognize KG5UFR Jacob, AG9SG Antonio, 5CX, KG5CKX Gregory. Do we have any other RF check-ins to Skynet?
Kilo 5, Mike Charlie Delta, Cody in Dallas.
Well, this may be a very short net. I got K5MCD Cody, and I think there was a double. Was there another station? Well, this is looking like an extremely short net. Let's go over to Echolink, KF5JHA. Do you want to check in, Chaz?
Sure, I'll check in over RF. This is KF5JHA. Chaz. Third rock from the sun.
And I recognize Chaz. J, KG5BZW. Do you want to check in?
This is KG5BZW, checking in from near weather.
Thank you, Jay. Recognize KG5BZW. And we've got Joe, KG5ZMG. Do you want to check in, Joe?
This is Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
Very good, Joe. I recognize KG5ZMG. Well, one more person on Echolink, KE5ICX. Do you want to check in, Tom? Well, we may have a very short net tonight. I'll try one more time. Do we have any other check-ins on any mode for Skynet? This is in 5BB net control.
Bravo 5, Zulu Lima, Brenda in Dallas.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James Carrollton in my garage.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas Low Power.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony, snuggled up next to a bird in Dallas.
Well, y'all slept in late on me, okay? I recognize Brenda. Hi, Brenda. WB5OZL. Bill, KF5ZBL. James, KG5WVL. Ted, WB4MFI. Patrick, KG5APL. Tony, NT5TM. With the bird brains there assisting him. He's always assisted by nearby bird brains that are working hard on making the world right with their bird brains. Very good. Okay, Tom, KE5ICX is here, but he's having trouble with his radio. Okay, Tom, we got you checked in. So, do we have anybody else via any mode for Skynet? This is in 5BB. Very good. There will be other times for check-ins later. So first, let's start with general announcements. Does anybody have any general announcements? This can be amateur radio, astronomical, space, or anything else of general interest to licensed hands? If so, please come down with your call sign only.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Okay, Tony, it looks like you're it. NT510. Go ahead with your announcements. This is N5BB and Skynet.
Thank you, Bill. We might have had a late announcement by Echolink. Someone was really doubling there very late. I want to give everyone two reminders. This is not our last net of the evening, although it may be the best. It's certainly a great net. We do have an Afterglow movie discussion coming up at 10:30, plus or minus 5 minutes. We'll be talking about the 1979 all-star science fiction drama spectacular, Meteor. Also, it's just a great weekend, a wonderful time to get outside. Oh boy, if you're not going to the State Fair, you should get outside and do something fun, like fox hunting. We've got a number of foxes out here in Richardson and in the White Rock area. You can get more details about a lot of different foxes in different cities and counties at ntxardf.org. That stands for North Texas Amateur Radio Direction Finding, ntxardf.org. Really all I had, NT5TM.
Very good, Tony. Does anybody have any questions or comments about Tony's items? Or do we have anything else, any kind of news announcements for the group? This is N5BB.
G5BZW.
Okay, G5BZW. Go ahead, Jay.
If Echolink would, gotta wait on it to settle down. All right, I'd like to my apologies. I'd like to remind everybody that the Freetown or joint Amateur Radio Equipment Parker County and Tri-County Ham Fest is occurring next week, October 14th, on Saturday from 8 to noon. We do have set up on Friday.
Okay, Jay, for some reason you're not holding it. The last word we heard was Friday, and then you dropped out. Did you have anything else to say in 5BB?
I did have something else to say. Normally I would be using devices for Echolink and another to feed or whatever, and when I tried to check in earlier, I was having issues, and I don't know, I think something happened when I was trying to look at the website, but it's just go to w5pc.org or wc5c.org to get the full details of the Freetown Ham Fest that's coming up this next week. That'd probably be the simplest way to just say everything I need to say. So, thank you very much. KG5BZW.
good, Jay. Does anybody have any comments or questions about Jay, or need fills about Jay's Hamfest news? If so, come now in 5BB. Okay, does anybody else have any other news that people might be interested in? If so, come now with your call sign only. This is in 5BB, Skynet. Okay, I've got one piece of news which is tangentially related to space in the sky. If you go outside during a day, you'll see a huge object in the sky, the sun. And the sun is the source of our energy here on the Earth, or nearly all of it. And solar energy is becoming a more and more important part of that mix every year. It turns out that my house here in Irving is the only urban house this year on the American Solar Energy Society National Solar Tour. The last day of this, we had one a day on Friday and another special event today, a private event. But there's a public event tomorrow at my house in Irving. The times it's going to be open as an open house for you to come over and check it out. It's going to be 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. here in Irving. If you want to find out more, hold on one second. You can go to the following URL, solartour.byram.net. That's SOLARTOUR, one word. It's SOLARTOUR dot BYROM dot NET. The dot is a period. solartour.byram.net. And you will see the description. You can click on the red Byram House. And if you want to, you can leave an RSVP, although it's absolutely necessary. Anyway, it's tomorrow here in Irving, 1025 Lane Street, Irving, Texas, 75061. And what can you see? You can see my ham shack. You can see my 500-pound lithium iron phosphate energy storage battery. You can see my solar inverter system capable of off-grid use. You can see my solar panels up on top of the house, and you can see a description of how it all works. And you can take a ride in my elevator if you'd like. So, feel free to come out to the open house at the Byram House in Irving tomorrow at 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Again, solartour.byram.net. Or if you have any questions, you can always send me an email at n5bb@arrl.net. That's like November 5, Bravo, Bravo, at arrl.net. Okay, anybody have any questions, comments, or any additional check-ins before we continue with the net? This is N5BB Skynet.
Kilo India 5, Gulf Romeo Hotel. Melissa, Third City, checking in.
And I recognize KI5GRH. She's really in Dallas, or maybe mobile, but Third City is a virtual destination. She's always in Third City. Okay, now let us move to the next section of the net. AMSAT, the Radio Amateur Satellite Corporation, has a net on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88, on all Tuesday nights except for the club meeting nights. So Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on this repeater, you can talk to other people about satellite operation. Usually Tom in 5HYP is the net control. Anybody's welcome to check in. You do not need to be a member of MSAT to check in. Then a similar net is on every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive offset. So that's the one for the people kind of in the western part of the county, Wednesday at 9 p.m. Net. On Mondays, there's a lot of things going on. First week of the month, ham fixings net. Second week, emergency communication. Third week, ham fixings net. Fourth week, a geek net. All things geeky. If there is a fifth Monday of the month, a surprise net. If we told you what it was, it wouldn't be a surprise. Those are all on Monday on this frequency. Tuesdays, I already mentioned the AMSAT net 8 p.m. On Fridays, there's the CERT City Simulation net at 8 p.m. where you can see Melissa and many other people, and everything bad happens over there. Everything breaks on the CERT City. There's all kinds of emergencies all the time. And the CERT people are in control and can respond to those. Then on Saturdays, we have the Night of Net. We have TechNet at 7 p.m. We have Skynet at 9 p.m. Then we have the Afterglow Net at 10:30. Tom, KE5ICX, did you get some way of getting on the air active now? Do you want to tell us what's going on the Afterglow Net this evening? This is N5BB, Skynet.
There we go. I got it this time. Yes, this is KE5ICX. Tonight's movie, as was mentioned earlier, is Meteor from 1979. Here's my highly accurate synopsis of the film. The actors started piling up outside the producer's office. Sean Connery, Natalie Wood, Carl Malden, Brian Keith, Martin Landau, Trevor Howard, Richard Dysart, and Henry Fonda. All of them thought they were going to be the lead in the new disaster movie of all time, Meteor. You could hear the steady drone as each actor overacted for the men's lead role, Dr. Paul Bradley. Natalie Wood did her best with her pseudo-Russian accent, a combination of Boris and Natasha. What they didn't know was the menace would soon destroy all their careers in a cinematic fireball of epic proportions. Join us tonight at around 10:30 p.m. for Meteor from 1979. Yes, there was another version in 2008. I've never seen it because we're talking about the 1979 version, which I wish I hadn't seen. But that's another story. Very exciting. Very small models. Very big Meteor. Back to you, Bill. KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Sounds like the Meteor fills the silver screen or your small TV set. Okay. Oh, and then, of course, also there is a traffic net each evening on this frequency at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. This is National Traffic System Training Net. The traffic we're talking about is message traffic, like telegrams. And then at 9:30 each evening on the Irving 146.72 megahertz repeater, there's the late version of the traffic net. Okay, now, before we continue with the meat of the net, let's look for additional check-ins. Would you like a check-in? Don't see anybody else on Echolink. This is N5BB with Skynet, looking for check-ins. Nothing heard. Now let's go to Chaz. KF5JHA on the third rock from the sun. Chaz, where and when can you look through a telescope with the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas? Take it away. N5BB.
Well, thank you, Bill. Maybe this evening could have been a place and time that you could have gone. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll talk about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. The next club meeting is going to be held on Friday, October the 27th. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also there's a Zoom segment too. The featured speaker is Ken Sturrock from the Denver Astronomical Society. He'll be talking about the Chamberlain Observatory. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions are something that occurs on the first, second, third, and fourth Saturday of each month. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. On the first Saturday of the month, which is tonight, the stargazing is held at Fairview. Do we have any ham radio operator at the stargazing that would like to make a report? If so, come now with your call sign. Now the person that's in charge and running is actually Ham, but he might be too busy looking through a telescope right now. You can check the TASS website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information about meetings and public observing sessions. And this is KF5JHA, back to our net control, N5BB.
Oh my, that was short tonight, Chaz. Very good. This is N5BB Skynet. Do we have any questions, comments, or additional check-ins? Okay. So now it's my turn for the National Space Society events. I happen to be the member at large and the membership director of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. We're a very active chapter. Our next meeting will be tomorrow, Sunday, October the 8th at 3:30 p.m. Our meetings are normally on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The location of the meeting will be the Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving, the southwest corner of Highway 183 at Beltline. The topic for tomorrow, the speaker, is Nancy Golden, who is a member of our local group. Her topic is Mars Surface Base Analog. This is the Houghton Mars Project, which is located on Devon Island in Canada. So this is a project that's been going on for a number of years. Devon Island is a desert island, believe it or not, up on the north edge of Canada. And it looks very similar to Mars. There is a base up there where people can go to simulate what it would be like on Mars. So she's going to be presenting on that. You too can hear about it by coming to our meeting. Or if you're quick and do this now rather than waiting to the last minute, you can register and you can come in on WebEx. If you want to do that, if you want to come in on WebEx, or you have any questions, please contact me. space@byram.net is my email address. That's SPACE byrom.net, or N5BB at arrl.net. The information for the WebEx session tomorrow. Or, of course, you can come to the meeting in person. The National Space Society of North Texas website is ntx.nss.org. That's NTX, abbreviation for North Texas, .nss, the abbreviation for National Space Society.org. We also have an active Facebook page. You can search for National Space Society of North Texas in the Facebook search box, etc. So, anybody have any questions, comments, or additional check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet. Okay. As Chas posts on the Echolink text, it looks like Iowa State is running away from TCU. Wow, poor TCU. Okay, but that has very little to do with Skynet. So now we have the discussion topic of the evening. My topic is giant satellite outshines most stars in the sky. This was posted in Nature earlier this week, October the 2nd, and with permission was reprinted by Scientific American. The writer was Shannon Hall at Nature magazine. At times, the enormous Blue Walker 3 telecommunications satellite is brighter than some of the most iconic stars visible from Earth. This is N5BB, Skynet. On some nights, one of the brightest objects in the sky is neither a planet nor a star. It is a telecommunications satellite called Blue Walker 3. And at times it outshines 99% of the stars visible from a dark location on Earth, according to observations reported today in Nature magazine. Blue Walker 3 is the most brilliant recent addition to a sky that is already swarming with satellites. The spaceflight company SpaceX alone has launched more than 5,000 satellites into orbit, and companies around the globe have collectively proposed launching more than 500,000. You heard me right, that's 500,000 satellites in the coming years. A scenario that astronomers fear could hamper scientific observations of the universe. The study shows us that there are no boundaries to satellite brightness, says Patrick Seitzer, an emeritus astronomer at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, who is not involved in the study. I'm concerned that we're going to see a very large number of large satellites launched in the next decade, and it will change the appearance of the night sky forever. Twilight Star. Telecommunications firm AST Space Mobile in Midland, Texas, launched Blue Walker 3 on the 10th of September in 2022 as a prototype for a satellite fleet designed to make mobile broadband available almost anywhere. The satellite's huge array of antennas in white color mean that it reflects a considerable amount of sunlight back toward Earth, making it shine even at twilight. This is N5BB, Skynet. To quantify its effects, professional and amateur astronomers embarked on an international observation campaign, ultimately spotting the satellite from locations in Chile, the U.S., Mexico, New Zealand, the Netherlands, and Morocco. The researchers assessed the satellite's shine using a standard astronomical index called the magnitude scale, on which the brightest objects have the smallest numbers. The brilliant Venus, for example, can reach a magnitude of negative 4.6, whereas the North Star is much dimmer at magnitude plus 2. That is roughly the magnitude limit visible from a city with a naked eye, the magnitude plus 2. You can just kind of see the North Star because of all the light pollution in a city, typically. On the 10th of November 2022, the satellite unfurled its array of antennas, causing it to brighten to magnitude plus 0.4. If it were a star, it would have been one of the 10 brightest in the sky. But its apparent brightness changes as the satellite rotates, and by late December it had dimmed to a magnitude of plus 6, and then brightened again, reaching magnitude plus 0.4 again on the 3rd of April 2023. The International Astronomical Union, a group of professional astronomers, recommends that artificial satellites in low Earth orbit have a maximum brightness of magnitude plus 7. Blue Walker 3 can be hundreds of times brighter, the authors found. A aside here, the magnitude is a logarithmic scale, so that's why it's quite possible that changing from from plus 7 to plus 0.4 can be a factor of thousands. AST Space Mobile says it plans to provide broadband coverage with a fleet of 90 similar satellites, including 5 that are scheduled to launch in early 2024. This is N5BB, Skynet. Breakaway debris. Moreover, the team observed a bright object separating from the main satellite during deployment, and later learned this was the container that protected the folded antennas during ascent before being jettisoned into space. It too was relatively bright at magnitude plus 5.5. In a statement to Nature, AST Space Mobile said it's currently working with NASA and astronomy groups to address these concerns. Many astronomers were caught by surprise in mid-2019 when SpaceX successfully launched 60 satellites, creating a train of stars that glided through the night sky. Now, low Earth orbit is littered with thousands of commercial satellites. If captured on a telescope during a long exposure, such objects can leave a bright streak that renders the data unreadable. Astronomers have long steered their telescopes to avoid the brightest of these objects. That workaround will still be possible if AST Space Mobile launches a fleet of satellites similar to Blue Walker 3, says Jonathan McDowell, an astronomer at the Center for Astrophysics at Harvard and Smithsonian in Cambridge, Massachusetts, who is not involved in the study. The bigger concern, he says, is that other companies might also launch constellations of large satellites. If that happens, Seitzer says, the night sky will be irreversibly changed. This is N5BB, Skynet. Do we have any additional check-ins? A search for solutions. To avoid such a scenario, astronomers are working to find mutual solutions. Some of the study's authors, for example, are part of a newly formed coalition called CPS, that's Charlie Papa Sierra, that aims to tackle the issue and has been in contact with companies including SpaceX and AST Space Mobile. SpaceX is already trying methods to make its satellites less visible. And coalition members say that AST Space Mobile also seems amenable to dimming its satellites. The company said it's planning to use anti-reflective materials on its next generation satellites, as well as certain flight maneuvers to reduce the craft's apparent magnitude. They left us with a very good impression that they would work more with us, says coalition member Constance Walker, an astronomer at the National Science Foundation's NOAA lab in Tucson, Arizona, and also a study author. Such discussions are the way forward, she says. No one is going to return to yesterday when we had darker skies. End of article. Okay. Before we go to Chaz, do we have any other chickens or comments or questions? This is N5BB Skynet. Okay, no additional Echolink stations. So Chaz, what's up? KF5JHA and 5BB.
Thank you, Bill. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks, maybe out to even a month away. That was slide number 1, Slide Master. If you're slide number 2, please. Yesterday, on October the 6th, the moon phase was third quarter. So the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. On October the 9th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that's furthest from the Earth, at a distance of 405,426 kilometers. On October 14th, the moon's phase is new. And there is an annular solar eclipse, which is seen as a partial solar eclipse here in North Texas. I'll give you more details about that in a few moments. On October the 21st, the moon is at first quarter. On October 25th, the moon is at perigee, which is a point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 363,872 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 3, please. Tonight, yes, tonight, on October 7th and 8th, the Draconid meteor shower peaks. This meteor shower can have a wide range of the number of meteors you could see per hour, between 5 per hour to over 1,000 meteors per hour. Now, what will it be this year? I don't know. You'd have to go out and take a look, and the sky, last time I looked, was pretty clear. But you need to really be away from the city lights. You can get more information about meteors and meteor shower at the International Meteor Organization at IMO.net or the American Meteor Society at AMSmeteors.org. Slide Master, slide number 4, please. On October the 8th, that would be tomorrow, the moon and the Beehive cluster can be seen in conjunction in the eastern morning sky. That's just a few hours from now is what I'm talking about. Also on October the 8th in the early morning eastern sky, the planet Venus and the star Regulus will be in conjunction. Slide Master, slide number 6. On the night of October 9th and 10th, the southern Taurus meteor shower will peak with a maximum of around half a dozen meteors per hour. Once again, you can get more information about meteors and meteor showers at IMO.net or AMSmeteors.org. Slide Master, slide number 7. On the early morning of October the 10th, there's going to be a conjunction of the moon, the planet Venus, and Regulus. That'll be a great early eastern morning sky. Now, what's really interesting is later on at sunrise that morning, you should still be able to see Venus in the sky, just with your two eyes when the sun is up. And a way of doing that is by spotting the moon first, and just a short distance away from that is the planet Venus. If you've never seen Venus in the daytime with just your two eyes, this might be the time to do it. Slide Master, slide number 8. Remember that we have 2 solar eclipses coming up very soon. The solar eclipse is when the moon is in between the Earth and the sun, and for a few very lucky people on the Earth, it blocks some or all of the sun from our view. Slide Master, slide number 9. So, on October the 14th, the eclipse is a partial annular solar eclipse for us here in North Texas. An annular eclipse is when the moon is so far away that it doesn't completely block out all of the light from the sun. In other words, there's a ring of sunlight around the moon called an annulus. So that's why it's called an annular eclipse. Now, here in North Texas, we're only going to see part of the sun blocked out. For Brookhaven campus, I've predicted, well, I've done the calculations, it's going to be 81% of the sun is blocked out by the moon. The eclipse begins at 10:23 a.m. The middle of the eclipse is at 11:52 a.m. and the eclipse ends at 1:29 p.m. Again, those times are for Brookhaven campus, and again, this is a week from now, October the 14th. So, safely look at the sun, please. Don't stare at it with your two eyes unless you have proper protection. Here's what I suggest. If you have about $1.25, go get something called a colander from Dollar Tree, and all you have to do is put it out there, and the holes of sunlight going through the colander will produce a whole bunch of little eclipses on the ground. Pretty cool. I've done it before. I'll do it again on October 14th. Slide Master, slide number 10, please. On April the 8th, 2024, a total solar eclipse is visible for us here in North Texas. Now, from the Brookhaven campus, the sun will be completely blocked out for 3 minutes and 20 seconds between 1:41 to 1:44 p.m. During that time, called totality, you'll be able to see stars in the sky just as if it were evening twilight. Now, the next total solar eclipse visible from North Texas won't be until the year 2317 on July the 9th. Put that on your calendar. So total solar eclipses are a very big deal because it only happens about once every 300 years here in North Texas. We'll talk more about this total solar eclipse on April the 8th on future Skynet. I'll probably be talking about it every week during Skynet. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 11, please. Just a quick reminder, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, October the 27th. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. at the University of Texas at Dallas. And also, it's a Zoom meeting, too. Isn't that interesting? Ken Sherlock of the Denver Astronomical Society will be talking about the Chamberlain Observatory. And Saturday night public observing sessions are going strong. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights so that there could be an opportunity for live reports. And tonight's was at, it's probably over with by now, was at Fairview. All right, let's see now. Slide Master, slide number 12, please. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information I've given you, or do you just have a general astronomy question? Come now, what's your call sign if you have a question or need a fill? Okay, slide master, slide number 13. So as the moon wanes, so do they use words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world, and especially pray for the people in Israel because of what's going on right now. Until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment of Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JHA, back to our net control. Bill, it's yours, N5BB.
Okay, Chaz. Hold on. I have incoming information over here. Okay. Tom, got it. I scrolled to the wrong place in the script, so let me get back online here. Okay, this is N5BB, Skynet Net Control. Do we have any questions, comments, or additional additional check-ins? If so, please come now.
This is November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay in the Ski.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Okay, recognize Clay, N50F, Sean, KB9SOK on Echolink and voice and RF. Nick, KI5ZVP, would you like a check-in on Echolink, voice or text? Okay, Nick, where are you located? KI5ZVP is Nick. Where are you located, Nick? Are you in Texas? Very good. I'll check in KI5ZVP, Nick in Arlington. He was texting back to me on Echolink. Welcome, Nick. Welcome to the net. Okay, next. We're going to go space launches for the week. Tom, you got any space launches? KI5CX and 5BB.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. I'll be happy to give those out. Let's see here. I get all my information from SpaceCoastLaunches.com and from SpaceflightNow.com/launch schedule. Actually, that's my favorite because it includes all the worldwide launches. We have coming up tomorrow evening Falcon 9 Starlink 6-22 launch, something we were kind of talking about a little bit earlier. All that light pollution, well, Starlink is one of them. They'll be launching from SLC-40, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. There'll be another batch of second-generation Starlink V2 mini internet satellites. The Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship, a short fall of gravitas in the Atlantic Ocean. Yep, that's the name of the ship. We have on October 9th another launch, Starlink 7-4. This will be from SLC-4E at Vandenberg over in California. This launch will be another batch of 21 second-generation Starlink V2 mini internet satellites from the Launch Complex 4, or SLC-4E. The Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, in the Atlantic Ocean. And then we have the delayed Falcon Heavy launch of Psyche. This will be Launch Complex 39A on October 12th from Kennedy Space Center. The NASA Psyche asteroid mission, using the Naxter-built spacecraft, will travel to the metallic asteroid Psyche, where it will enter orbit in 2029. This is the first spacecraft to explore metal-rich asteroid, which may be a leftover core from a protoplanet that began forming in the early solar system more than 4 billion years ago. The Falcon Heavy's 2 side boosters will return to landing zones 1 and 2 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station for recovery. The center core will be expended. Next up, we don't have a launch date yet, but the Falcon 9 will launch again, O3B and M-Power 5 and 6 from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Florida. This is the third pair of these satellites, which will be launched in medium Earth orbit for SES at Luxembourg. The satellites will provide internet services over most of the populated world, building on SES-0 or O3B network. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Then we have, oh boy, another Falcon 9 launch to be determined, USSF-124. This is a launch from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral. This will launch a mission for the U.S. Space Force and Missile Defense Agency. No other information is available. Then we have in November, overnight between 3rd and 4th, a Falcon 9 launch. This will be a SpaceX CRX-29 launch from Launch Complex 39A. We'll launch a Dragon 2 spacecraft on a cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Flight is the 29th mission by SpaceX, conducted under the Commercial Resupply Services contract with NASA. Moving into November, we have on November 15th, launch from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy. It will be the IM-1 mission with a Nova C lander built and owned by Intuitive Machines. The IM-1 mission will attempt to deliver a suite of scientific payloads to the surface of the moon for NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services program. Then we have, something different, not a Falcon 9. In November, Long March 2F launch. This will be Shenzhou 17. This will launch from Jiuquan, China. This Shenzhou 17 spacecraft will launch 3 Chinese astronauts to rendezvous and dock with the Chinese space station in low Earth orbit. This is China's 12th crewed mission and the 6th to the Chinese space station. The crew members have not been announced by China. And then finally, 4th quarter, Falcon 9 launch, ASDM. This is from SLC-40 in Vandenberg. This will be a Falcon 9 rocket launch the Arctic Satellite Broadband mission consisting of 2 satellites owned by Space Norway. The Falcon 9 will launch the 2 Northrop Grumman-built satellites into highly elliptical orbits that lingers over the Arctic region. The satellites carry communications payloads for the Norwegian Ministry of Defense and the U.S. Space Force and Inmarsat. That's it, Bill, from me. Back to you, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, this is N5BB. Chaz thinks I skipped Constellation of the Week. Hang on a second, I'm just following the current script. Hang on here, this is N5BB. I'll be back in a moment. Do we have any additional check-ins? Ooh, you're right, Chaz. How did I do? Oh, I see what I did. Tom told me to skip space exploration, and I skipped too much. Next, Chaz, can you tell us about Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week? I'm sorry, Chaz. I skipped too much. Go right ahead. KF5JHA and 5BB.
Okay, Bill, if I was perfect, I could complain, but I'm not. I make lots of mistakes when I'm in control. All right, Slide Master, slide number 14. Now, before I get into my script, let me talk about the person I met yesterday, Rob, N5PUR. He listens to Skynet on a regular basis, but he's never checked in, but I just want to say hi to him if he's out there listening. All right. Like I said, slide number 14. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key, Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at fully visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations. So Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we have continued the tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. So Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is actually a twofer: Pisces Austrinus, the Southern Fish, and Grus. Now, last week I gave you a question. What's Grus? I'll answer it now. It's the crane. Slide Master, slide number 15, the jokes of the week. See, this is the reason why I didn't want you to skip this, Bill, is the jokes of the week. Here we go. Those of you that follow Skynet, I usually try to connect the jokes to the constellation. So, fish and a bird. What do fish keep? Where do the fish keep their money? In the riverbank, of course. Oh, wait, TCU just scored. It's now 14-27. So TCU's behind, but 14 TCU, 27 Iowa State. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once. All right. Why did the fish get bad grades? Because it was below sea level. Why don't fish like playing basketball? Because they're terrified of nets. Lightweight babies are delivered by storks. Heavyweight babies are delivered by a crane. What kind of bird works at a construction site? Oh, come on. It's the same answer, a crane. What bird can lift the most? Okay, you've guessed it, a crane. Okay, this is KF5JHA and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 16, please. Pisces Austrinus, the southern fish, is located below Aquarius. The Greeks knew the constellation as the Great Fish and depicted it as swallowing the water poured out by Aquarius, the water bearer. The two fish represented by Pisces, the constellation, were said to be the offspring of the Great Fish. Interesting. Slide number 17, Fomalhaut, which is the brightest star in Pisces Austrinus. It's derived from the Arabic name, which means the mouth of the fish. It's one of the four royal stars, or heavenly watchers, of ancient Mesopotamia. And the other ones are Regulus, Aldebaran, and Antares. Fomalhaut is the 18th brightest star in the sky, shining at a magnitude of 1.3. It's a main sequence star of A3. It's about twice the diameter of our sun and 14 times more luminous than our sun. It lies a distance of 23 light years away. Fomalhaut became noteworthy for being the first star with an extrasolar planet, known as Fomalhaut B, and has been imaged in visible light. Yes, we've actually taken a picture of it. LaSalle 9352 is a faint but noticeable star that lies in the southeastern corner of the constellation, about 1 degree south-southeast of Pi Pisces Austrinus. It can be seen in a 50-millimeter finder scope. The star is noted for being the 10th closest star to our solar system, and it's a very large proper motion. It is the 4th fastest proper motion in the sky, in fact. The 3 fastest stars are Barnard's star and Ophiuchus, Castellan's the star in Pictor, and Groomsbridge 1830 in Ursa Major. LaSalle 9352 is a red dwarf star at magnitude 7.39 and is 11.9 light years away. It only has 1/85th of the luminosity of their sun, so it's kind of a faint thing. Slide Master, slide number 18, please. NGC 7314 is also known as ARP 14. in his ARP Atlas, notes that the NGC 7314 is a spiral with detached segments and having almost no nucleus. David Hutchinson writes that ARP 14 is a magnitude 11th spiral galaxy and is classified as a Seyfert galaxy. Seyfert galaxies are active galaxies that show high ionized emission lines. David describes NGC 7314 as an easy target for a 16-inch Newtonian and reports that some have seen this galaxy in as small as a 6-inch telescope. Wow. NGC 7313 describes this galaxy as a very faint, small companion, not very far away from the southwest of NGC 7314, but it only shines at a meager 14.39 magnitude. It makes it a very difficult thing to find, even with a 16-inch telescope. Slide master, slide number 19, please. Hickson Compact Group number 90, which is also known as NGC 7173, 7174, 7176. The three galaxies will eventually merge into one. Hickson Compact Group 90 is approximately 100 million light years distance from the Earth. Slide master, slide number 20, please. The constellation Grus lies in the southern sky. Its name means crane in Latin. The stars in Grus were once part of the constellation of Pisces Austrinus. The constellation first appeared in Celestial Atlas in 1603 in Johannes Bayer's Uranopia. Oh, I can't even say it tonight. Yeah, it's a star atlas. In the early 17th century, it's believed to be named the Flamingo. Wow. Grus is the 45th constellation in size, occupying only an area of 366 square degrees in the sky. Grus was one of the 12 constellations created by the Dutch explorers in the late 16th century. The only connection the crane has with mythology is that it lies in the fact that it's a sacred bird to the god Hermes. Okay. Slide master, slide number 21. Ulnar, also known as Alpha Grusis, is the brightest star in the constellation. It has an apparent magnitude of 1.74. It's approximately 101 light years distance from the us. Alpha Grusis is either a main sequence star with a stellar classification of B65 or a B74 classification as a subgiant. It is a radius of 3.4 times that of the Sun, 4 times the solar mass, and about 263 times more luminous. The star's estimated age is about 100 million years, so it's a relatively young star. Ulnar is a rapid rotator with a projected rotational velocity of 215 kilometers a second. Based on the axis infrared emissions, the star is believed to have a dust disk in its orbit. Delta Grus is a binary star in Grus. Composed of a G73 type star with an apparent magnitude of 3.97 and an M45 classification star with a magnitude of 4.17. Under good conditions, both stars of this binary are visible to the naked eye. Slide master, slide number 22, please. Grus, the quadrant, is a group of 4 interacting galaxies: NGC 7552, NGC 7590, NGC 7599, and NGC 7582, located southeast of the star Theta Grusis. All of the galaxies are members of the IC 1459 group. The galaxies are occupying an area of only about 10 arcseconds across and are sometimes known as the Grus triplet. 3 of them out of the 4. Interesting. Slide master, slide number 23. Spare Tire Galaxy, IC 5148, is a beautiful planetary nebula located some 3,000 light years away from us, seen about a degree west of Lambda Crucis, nicknamed the Spare Tire, TYRE nebula, is a diameter of a couple of light years and is one of the fastest expanding planetary nebulas known, with an expansive rate of 50 kilometers a second. The nebula occupies an area of 2 minutes by 2 minutes and virtually and a visual magnitude of 16.5, which means it's very faint to see, so it's usually a photographic object. And again, it's about 3,000 light years from the Earth. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 24, please. There are more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Pisces, Austronus, and the Southern Fish, and Grus the Crane. I've just given you a sampling of some of the objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 77 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. Now, if you just observe 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year from the Astronomical League. And that is Miss Carolyn's constellations of the week, Pisces, Austronus, the Southern Fish, and Grus the Crane. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information as well. Now next week we'll take a look at Lacerda the Lizard. Wonder if he's related to the Geico thing. This is KF5 JHA saying 73 to everyone. Back to our net control. Bill, it's all yours. N5BB.
Thank you, Chaz. Do we have any questions, comments, or additional check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet. By the way, Chaz, you developed some audio hum here on this one. So you might check and see if you did something different, like move your microphone or radio closer to a transformer or something. We can hear you, but there's kind of an annoying hum in there. Okay, next we have Brenda, WB50ZL, with recent astronomical discoveries. Take it away, Brenda. This is N5BB, Skynet.
Thank you, Bill. This is Brenda, WP50ZL. Our article tonight is entitled, Pulsars May Make Dark Matter Glow. The central question in the ongoing hunt for dark matter is, what is it made of? One possible answer is that dark matter consists of particles known as axions. A team of astrophysicists led by researchers from the universities of Amsterdam and Princeton has now shown that if dark matter consists of axions, it may reveal itself in the form of a subtle additional glow coming from pulsating stars. Dark matter may be the most sought-for constituent of our universe. Surprisingly, this mysterious form of matter that physicists and astronomers so far have not been able to detect is assumed to make up an enormous part of what is out there. No less than 85% of matter in the universe is suspected to be dark, presently only noticeable through the gravitational pull it exerts on other astronomical objects. Understandably, scientists want more. They want to really see dark matter, or at least detect its presence directly, not just infer it from gravitational effects. And of course, they want to know what it is. One thing is clear, dark matter cannot be the same type of matter that you and I are made of. If that were to be the case, dark matter would simply behave like ordinary matter. It would form objects like stars, light up, and no longer be dark. Scientists are therefore looking for something new, a type of particle that nobody has detected yet, and it probably only interacts very weakly with the types of particles that we know, explaining why this constituent of our world has so far remained elusive. There are plenty of clues for where to look. One popular assumption is that dark matter could be made of axions. This hypothetical type of particle was first introduced in the 1970s to resolve a problem that had nothing to do with dark matter. The separation of positive and negative charges inside the neuron, one of the building blocks of ordinary atoms, turned out to be unexpectedly small. Scientists, of course, wanted to know why. It turned out that the presence of a hitherto undetected type of particle interacting very weakly with the neutron's constituents could cause exactly such an effect. The later Nobel Prize winner, Frank Wilczek, came up with the name of the new particle, axion, not just similar to other particle names like proton, neutron, electron, and photon, but also inspired by a laundry detergent of the same name. The axion was there to clean up a problem. In fact, despite never being detected, it might clean up too. Several theories for elementary particles, including string theory, one of the leading candidate theories to unify all forces in nature, appeared to predict that axion-like particles could exist. If axions were indeed out there, they could also constitute part or even all of the missing dark matter. Perhaps, but an additional question that haunted all dark matter research was just as valid for axions. If so, then how can we see them? How does one make dark visible? Fortunately, it seems that for axions, there may be a way out of this conundrum. If the theories predict axions are correct, they are not expected to be mass-produced in the universe, but some axions could also be converted into light in the presence of strong electromagnetic fields. Once there's light, we can see. Could this be the key to detect axions and therefore to detect dark matter? To answer that question, scientists first had to ask themselves where in the universe the strongest known electric and magnetic fields occur. The answer is in regions surrounding rotating neutron stars known as pulsars. These pulsars, short for pulsating stars, are dense objects with a mass roughly the same as that of our sun, but a radius that is around 100,000 times smaller, only about 10 kilometers. Being so small, pulsars spin with enormous frequencies, emitting bright, narrow beams of radio emission along their axis of rotation. Similar to a lighthouse, the pulsar's beams can sweep across the Earth, making the pulsating star easily observable. However, the pulsar's enormous spin does more. It turns the neutron star into an extremely strong electromagnet. That, in turn, could mean that pulsars are very efficient axon factories. Every single second, an average pulsar could be capable of producing a 50-digit number of axions. Because of the strong electromagnetic field around the pulsar, a fraction of these axions could convert into observable light. That is, if axions exist at all. But the mechanism can now be used to answer just that question. Just look at pulsars. If they emit extra light, see if they emit extra light, and if they do, determine whether this extra light could be coming from axions. As always in science, actually performing such an observation is, of course, not that simple. The light emitted by axions, detectable in the form of radio waves, would only be a small fraction of the total light that these bright cosmic lighthouses send our way. One needs to know how very precisely what a pulsar without axions would look like. And what a pulsar with axions would look like to be able to see the difference, let alone to quantify that difference and turn it into a measurement of an amount of dark matter. This is exactly what a team of physicists and astronomers have now done. In a collaborative effort between the Netherlands, Portugal, and the USA, the team has constructed a comprehensive theoretical framework which allows for the detailed understanding of how axions are produced. How axions escape the gravitational pull of the neutron star, and how during their escape they convert into low-energy radio radiation. The theoretical results were then put on a computer to model the production of axions around pulsars using state-of-the-art numerical plasma simulations that were originally developed to understand the physics behind how pulsars emit radio waves. Once virtually produced, the propagation of the axions to the electromagnetic fields of the neutron star was simulated. This allowed the researchers to quantitatively understand the subsequent production of radio waves and model how this process would provide an additional radio signal on top of the intrinsic emission generated from the pulsar itself. The results from these were then put to a first observational test. Using observations from 27 nearby pulsars, researchers compared the observed radio waves to the models to see if any measured excess could provide evidence for the existence of axions. Unfortunately, the answer was no, or perhaps more optimistically, not yet. Axions do not immediately jump out to us, but perhaps that was not to be expected. If dark matter were to give up its secrets that easily, it would have been observed a long time ago. The hope for a smoking gun detection of axions, therefore, is now on future observations. Meanwhile, the current non-observation of radio signals from axions is an interesting result in itself. The first comparison between simulations and actual pulsars has placed the strongest limits to date on the interaction that axions can have with light. Of course, the ultimate goal is to do more than just set limits. It is to either show that axions are out there or to make sure it is extremely unlikely the axions are a constituent of dark matter at all. The new results are just a first step in that direction. They are only the beginning of what could become an entirely new and highly cross-disciplinary field that has the potential to dramatically advance the search for axions. This is from ScienceDaily.com. Back to net, this is WB5OZL.
Very good, Brenda. This is N5BB Skynet. Anyone have any questions, comments, or additional check-ins? This is N5BB. Okay, we're getting right down near the end of the net. Tom, do you have any visible satellite passages you want to discuss? This is N5BB.
Yeah, I can, Bill. There's just some limited ones, mainly because of the orientation where the sun is and the reflections hitting Earth right now. There's very few. I don't have any decent passes for ISS. I do have the Chinese space station, Tiangong. There's a couple of good passes. October 10th, minus 2.0 magnitude at 19:59 in the evening. Reach its highest point at 20:02 at 58 degrees. It'll fall to the east at 20:03. The 11th has another good pass, minus 1.0 magnitude at 8:33 in the evening. It'll reach its highest point at 8:36 at 36 degrees, and it'll fall to the south-southwest at also at 8:36. That went into shadow. Next is October 12th, minus 2.1 magnitude. This is at 19:30 in the evening. The west-northwest reached its highest point at 81 degrees at 19:33, and it will fall to the east-southwest east at 19:36. And that is basically it. Next is the Hubble Space Telescope. I got a couple there, I guess. Let's see. We have 3 good passes. We've got one on October 11th. That'll be 1.5 magnitude. That's at 19:33 in the evening. The west-southwest reached its highest point at 42 degrees. At 19:37, it'll fall to the east-southeast at 19:40. October 12th, let's see here, 1.5 magnitude, 19:17 in the In the evening, it'll reach its highest point at 1921 at 43 degrees in the south, and it'll fall to the southeast at 1925. And then finally, October 13th, I've got 2.0 magnitude at 2042. Out of the west-southwest, reaches its highest point at 31 degrees at 2046, and it'll fall to the south-southwest at 2046, 18, also into shadow. That's it, Bill. Kind of poultry offerings tonight, but that's what I got. Back to you, KE5ICX.
Very good, Tom. Okay, we're at the end of the net, 73 round. Do we have any additional comments, questions, or check-ins before we close the net? This is N5BB, Skynet.
Normal state.
I think the clock in the repeater is 2 minutes fast, or 1 minute fast. It just turned 10:29. Okay, tonight we had 21 members. I want to thank everybody that participated this evening. We hope you join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for the DARC nets. If you're interested, send email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on
I'm
Facebook.
completely operational. All my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
There's no such thing as Twitter. X. As well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net, which is nigh. Until next Saturday night, this is N5BB, Bill. I'll be closing a net at 10:30 local time, returning a net to a normal amateur use. 73, everybody. Enjoy the evening discovering the universe with this beautiful weather. Tom, I'll turn it over to you and let you discuss the Afterglow net. N5BB clear.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for doing a great job as net control. This is KE5ICX. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, we'll be discussing the fine mega disaster film in oh so many different ways. Meteor from 1979. We'll be back in about 5. We'll see you then. This is KE5ICX clear for now. Okay, 5 minutes is up. I know it seems hard to believe, but it's true. 5 minutes are up. Tonight's movie that we'll be discussing, and we had an opportunity, some of us, to watch last night. I did not see the entire thing, so I don't know if the Earth got annihilated or not. I suspect it did not, but we'll see. Our movie tonight is Meteor. It's a 1979 American science fiction disaster film starring Sean Connery and Natalie Wood and a cast of millions of stars, all of whom are dead. The film's premise, which follows a group of scientists struggling with Cold War politics after an asteroid is detected to be on a collision course with Earth, was inspired by the 1967 MIT report Project Icarus. The screenplay was written by Oscar winner Edmund H. North and Stanley Mann, which goes to prove sometimes even Oscar winners can put out turkeys. The international cast included Carl Malden, Brian Keith, Martin Landau, Trevor Howard as the announcer, Joseph Campanella, Richard Dicer, and of course Henry Fonda as Abraham Lincoln. The film was a box office flop and received negative reviews, but it was nevertheless nominated for an Academy Award for Best Sound. Okay, let me go ahead and give you the plot to this thing. After an asteroid, Orpheus, in the asteroid belt, is hit by a comet, dozens of asteroid fragments are sent on a collision course with Earth, along with a 5-mile wide fragment that will cause an extinction-level event. While the United States government engages in political maneuvering, the smaller asteroid fragments preceding the main body wreak havoc on the planet, revealing the threat. The United States has a secret orbiting nuclear missile platform satellite named Hercules that was designed by Dr. Paul Bradley. It was intended to defend Earth against a threat like Orpheus, but instead was commandeered by the U.S. Armed Forces to become an orbiting weapon, now aimed at the Soviet Union. After many calculations, the 14 nuclear missiles on board Hercules are not enough to stop the dreaded asteroid. The United States has known that the Soviet Union also has a similar weapons satellite in orbit called Peter the Great, with its 16 nuclear warheads pointed at the United States. Needing the additional firepower to stop Orpheus, the president goes on national television and reveals the existence of Hercules, explaining that it has created to meet the threat of Orpheus represents. He also offers the Soviets a chance to save face by announcing that they too have the same program and their own satellite weapon. To coordinate the counter-effort between the two countries, Bradley requests the Soviet scientist named Dr. Alexei Dubov. Now that's all it says. Bradley and Harry Sherwood of NASA meet at the control center for Hercules, located beneath 195 Broadway in Lower Manhattan. Where else would you put your NASA stuff but right underneath Manhattan? Major General Adlin is the commander of the facility. Dubov and his interpreter, Tatiana Doskaya, arrive, and Bradley gets to work on breaking the ice between them. Since Dubov cannot admit the existence of the Soviet device, he agrees to Bradley's proposal that they work on the theoretical application of how a theoretical Soviet space platform's weapons would be coordinated with the American platform. Meanwhile, more satellite fragments strike Earth, one inside Siberia, and the Soviets finally agree to join the effort. Both satellites are coordinated and turn toward the incoming large asteroid as large fragments continue to strike the planet, causing great damage, including the deadly avalanche, stock footage from the movie Avalanche, in the Swiss Alps and a tsunami that devastates Hong Kong. With hours remaining until Orpheus's impact, Peter the Great's missiles are launched first as planned because of its relative position to the asteroid, with Hercules missiles timed to be fired 14 minutes later. Immediately prior to Hercules missiles being launched, a splinter fragment is discovered to be heading toward the command center in New York City. Of course, the center is destroyed. Hercules will not be able to launch. With seconds next to the city, destroying the top half of the World Trade Center Twin Towers in a direct hit and creating a large crater in Central Park. Several workers inside the control center are killed when the facility is partially destroyed by the collapse of the building above, and survivors are forced to work their way out of the control center by going through the New York subway system, which becomes a trap due to water from the East River flooding the tunnels. Meanwhile, the 2 flights of missiles link up into 3 successively larger waves. The Hercules crew reaches the crowded subway station and waits for others to try and dig them out. Eventually, the missiles reach the meteoroid. The first wave of missiles strikes the rock, causing a small explosion. The second wave follows with a larger blast, and the third wave creates an enormous explosion. When the dust clears, I don't know how you do that in space, but I guess it does, the asteroid appears obliterated. In New York City, the radios broadcast the good news. Orpheus is no longer a danger to Earth. Just then, the subway station occupants are rescued. Later at an airport, Doboff and Tatiana, Bradley, and others exchange goodbyes before Duboff and Natasha depart on a plane for the Soviet Union. A beautiful 707 123, by the way. Okay, and with that, it's hard to believe that somebody who won an Oscar somehow wrote this thing, but they did. So now is your opportunity to check in. I need to know your call sign, your name, and did you see our fine film, Meteor, from 1979? If you did not, that's okay. You've heard the plot. Maybe you can give us some astronomical advice or physics advice or other information on this highly improbable and impossibly stupid plot. So let's go ahead. That's just my opinion. I mean, it was written by, people who are Oscar winners. So with that, I'll go ahead and take your call sign, your name, and did you see Meteor? Please come now.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony, in Dallas. And yes, I've actually seen this 3 or 4 times. I don't know how, but I have.
Kilo 5, Alpha, November, Echo, Kane and Richardson, and yes, I saw the movie.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Kilo, Sean Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen this movie.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in Dallas. Yes, I saw it.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf. Cruise in Arlington with my microphone cord all tangled up. Yes, I saw it.
All right, let me go ahead and get these folks checked in. And I did see someone trying to come in on Echolink, but there was no audio that I could pick up. So I'll come back to Echolink here in a minute. I've got NT5TM Tony in Dallas. Yeah, he saw the film. K5ANE Kane, he's back. Richardson, yes, he saw the movie. KB9SOK Sean in Fort Worth, yes, he saw the movie. WB50ZL Brenda in Dallas, yes, she saw the movie. And then I saw W9VPU Samuel over on Echolink. I heard no audio though, Samuel. You want to try one more time? I'll see if I can get you in. And don't worry, I'll get the other Echolink people too. So Samuel, try again. All right, I saw you come in, and there appears to be audio, but I didn't hear anything. Let me go ahead and tap Jay. He may be able to tell me if the echo link's okay. KG5BZWJ. I know you're a regular check-in, so I'll go ahead and ask you, did you see the film? And, well, go ahead.
Golf 5, Bravo Zoo Whiskey. Dana Webbard, and I am talking pretty loudly into my phone, and it's through, so he may just need to talk louder, I don't know.
Yeah, that could be the issue. It is by Vox, unfortunately, but that's how this radio that I'm using for Echolink works, so it doesn't have any control features that make that nice, but it's been around for a while. So, Samuel, I'll come back to you in the check-ins here in a little bit, and we'll see if we can pick you up. You may have to speak just a little bit louder in hopes to break the carrier. Let me see. We also have Joe in Arlington, KG5ZMG. Joe, do you want to check in? Okay, don't hear anyone there. I'll go ahead and open it up to anyone who'd like to check in. If you haven't done so already, please do so now with your call sign, your name, and did you see tonight's fine film, Meteor, from 1979?
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf Cruise in Arlington. Yes, I saw it.
No, I did hear you earlier, and I didn't acknowledge you. I've got you in there, Cruise KI5KWG. All right, well, with that, let's go ahead and get started. Our first round is all about the plot, and its plot. Meteor from 1979 from KE5 ICX.
Well, thank you, Tom. You know, someone has to go first, and I'm usually not our deepest thinker. I don't write out my remarks in advance. My only hope is that I can buy more expert critics time to properly rip the film to shreds. There are several ways to approach a movie that has a big issue like this. You know, some movies are just about somebody having an affair, or that they're going to be late for work, or beating up their laser printer with baseball bats or whatnot. This movie is a movie that tries to tackle big issues, and there are really three ways to do that. First, of course, the plot could have focused at the very top level, the geopolitics, the Soviet premier versus the American president. Can I trust him? Can I trust her? What if we fire and they don't, and then we blow up the asteroid, but they end up ruling the world, and there's nothing left for our way of life, whichever that may be, because we guessed wrong. And then, of course, there's the medium level, kind of the mission. Perhaps the crews of Peter the Great and Hercules, struggling to keep their nail polish coated shiny plastic model missiles working. What can we do? We're running out of oxygen, or we need more fuel, or this warhead needs extra plutonium. So you've got this kind of medium level, kind of a teamwork, an ensemble movie as they struggle to complete their mission. And then finally we have the microcosm approach to the plot, where we focus on, Ted Stryker and his great crisis with maintaining his marriage, but he has to focus on keeping the radar station operational, and so we get this view from the bottom up. And this movie failed on all three levels. It paid lip service to the plot, but it never got into any of these things. There was some acknowledgement that there was some geopolitical tension, but oh well, I guess we'll all just, follow through without further discussion. We don't want to hamstring the plot by having anyone actually be worried about anything. And level 2 was probably the weakest. We see some people in the, underground battle station under Manhattan, but it's not like we really saw them struggling to complete their mission or accomplish anything, or the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one as they struggle to contain the reactor leak to make the rockets go off. No, having to show people actually accomplish the mission would have taken too much effort. And finally, at the microcosm level, just, again, lip service at best. Sean Connery and the Russian ambassador translator woman both explain why they can't have a love affair. I guess the movie had to be G-rated or something, so that was probably explanation enough. And we had our Major General who got a little upset and pouted, but then came back in time to suffer with the rest of them. So no, all the microcosm plot issues were self-resolving and boring too. There was just not any level at which the writers of this movie decided to have a plot with conflict and tension and the possibility of failure. They just kind of threw a little lip service in each direction and then moved on because they had to get on to all the lame things we'll talk about in rounds 2 or 3. Now, when I completely trash a movie, I always want to suggest an alternate, and last week it was a book. This week it's going to be a movie, 13 Days, 13 days, in which the U.S. and the USSR face the possibility of making a few missteps and blowing the world into tiny glowing bits, but they don't. And we get the view of everything from a frontline pilot, so we get that, but then the people who are trying to accomplish the mission and make the teletype work, and even the White House switchboard operators, and then the president, an ambassador from the Soviet Union at the very top. We get all three levels full of tension and the possibility of failure and misstep and killing all of our parents and grandparents, and probably us too. So don't watch this. Watch 13 Days, NT5TM. Back to net.
Very good. Thank you, Tony. And I saw that movie in theater when it first came out, and it was very odd to me. You probably did not see it, but whenever you watch a film, there's overshoot in the film, meaning that there's certain things that are, in this case, filmed, that don't appear inside the frame. They appear slightly outside the frame. And that was the case in the theater where I saw this film, and the frame was off a little bit. And I could see the microphones in every single scene in the White House. Every single scene. Sometimes the microphone was yellow, sometimes it was blue, the little muffler thing they put on there, the windscreen thing they put on there on the microphone. I thought that was very distracting. It was interesting. I watched them, move the microphone around when they talked to the president and then to somebody else and then somebody else. Anyway, I digress. I don't know if I could ever watch that movie again without thinking about the microphone crisis that went along with it. Okay, next up is, and by the way, thank you, very interesting comment. You did think about it quite a bit, more than I think our writers did. But let's move on to Kane. Kane, K5A&E. Kane, welcome back. And we got you to do it in a disaster film. So what did you think about it from KE5ICX?
So I always know, when I watch Sean Connery, it's going to be a great James Bond movie. Oh, sorry, this isn't a James Bond movie. Okay, let's continue on. So, yeah, right, and you got the Coast Guard coming to interrupt the sailing trip to bring James Bond back on an important mission. Oh, sorry, once again, not a James Bond movie. And then, we got to talk about the nukes in space and things like that. This whole storyline is just over and over again a James Bond movie, a James Bond movie, a James Bond movie, but with far fewer guns. And it's kind of funny that, I just kept seeing all these things. And it's like, oh yeah, this is like in GoldenEye. Oh yeah, this is like in whatever. And oh yeah, this is like in that other movie, a James Bond movie. And it's kind of hilarious to me seeing all these parallels of storyline. And that is really actually kind of far from a James Bond movie in many perspectives, because it's not a secret agent man. It's just a scientist. So, kind of a funny thing that I had watching this movie. And other than that, I got a lot of other notes for things like special effects and other things. But yeah, James Bond. That's what I got from this movie. K5 A&E. Back to net.
Okay, if only it were a James Bond movie, but it wasn't. And Sean Connery just played the dumbfounded scientist. Oh well, but I'm sure you'll have interesting things to say about all the other things in the film that we can make fun of. Next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thoughts on the plot for tonight's movie, Meteor, from 1979.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, it's another Meteor movie. It for giggles, when I did a search on the movie database, Meteor, there's been a lot of movies named Meteor. So apparently we have a fascination with meteors destroying Earth. During this movie, I kept waiting for them to call up Bruce Willis to come in and save us all, but they didn't. And yeah, actually, Tony, man, I thought you went really deep into that. Wow, that was a really good cover of really what the story was about, actually. Yeah, it was basically 3 sections, and all of them did kind of fail. Of course, in the late 70s, early 80s, of course, we obviously were high tensions with the Russians and nuclears and, weapons. And so obviously they played off of that, and then, of course, played off our fears of an asteroid destroying the planet. And I guess they assumed if they threw a lot of stars at it, that people would go see it and it would be a success. Unfortunately, it was not. I will say it's better than that Absolute Zero movie we watched, I think, 3 or 4 weeks ago, which was completely horrible. This was better, it had more production, but still just wasn't a very good storyline. I too, a couple times while watching, I kept thinking James Bond too. Especially when they got to the underground, the center there looked like one of the evil, one of the bad guys' layers. It always amazed me in these movies, they show these underground facilities, and they're huge. They're monstrous, huge archways down there, and these huge bedrooms. And once again, I would think if you were tunneling underground, not that I've ever been in a base, a secret base, but I would assume the space is at a premium, and they wouldn't be quite that luxury. So yeah, I was quite impressed with the underground layer there. But yeah, even from the beginning, what I thought was interesting too is that here's Sean Connery supposed to be the scientist, but apparently being a scientist pays very well. If you can afford a 50-foot sailing boat, competitive sailing boat, those things are pretty expensive. So yeah, that was quite interesting. So yeah, apparently I guess I should have been a scientist. So yeah, no, I think everybody's kind of covered it. The plot was pretty weak. Even the whole love affair thing was just really weak. Of course, as everybody knows, it seems like Hollywood, I think that's a prerequisite that every movie must have some kind of love affair in it, and so they just kind of threw that in to cover their bases. Not that I don't enjoy a good romantic movie, but when it makes a difference in the actual film, it can be very enjoyable. But that seemed very just thrown in as a time filler. didn't have much impact. And so yeah, and who knows, maybe it's in Sean Connery's contract that he has to at least kiss one girl somewhere in the film, like he did at the end. But so yeah, very simple plot, not very believable. I did have to laugh a little bit at the rockets or the satellites that you know, just white out in the open that you can see better than any telescope. You thought these things would have some kind of covers, you know, on them, so you couldn't see what kind of satellites they were. But yeah, not much to say about this. Like I said, not the worst disaster movie I've ever seen. So there's a positive, but it wasn't great either. So back to net, KB9SOK.
Right, very good. And next up is Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, I know you love this film. You were so excited and mentioned it, thought this would be the one we should see. So your thoughts. What did you think of the plot from KE5ICS?
Yeah, I'm so glad you took my suggestion for us to watch this. This is WB5OZL. First thing, I want to take exception to your earlier comment about Natalie Wood's fake Russian accent. It wasn't fake. Her real name was Natalia Zakharenko. Her parents were Russian, and she was indeed fluent in Russian. So, what do you know about Russian anyway? Snarky and uncalled for, and she has a lovely Russian accent. She did get an award one time for a Worst Actress award, but I don't think that holds up. Okay, disaster movies are not my favorite genre. But they're so formulaic. There's a laundry list. You got to have the same things in every one. You've got the scientist who's being kicked out, or he has had his development or ideas or invention taken away and misused. You have the political conflict between the Russians and the Americans. You've got the romance, very unlikely romance. And then often you've got the marriage on the rocks. And then you've got impending doom. The earth is going to be destroyed. Oh my goodness, can we stand it? And then just in the nick of time, our heroes save everything and avoid the disaster. A lot of people die, a lot of bad stuff happens. Of course, you've got to have some good footage to look at if a disaster's happening. But in the end, everything comes out okay. And it just makes you want to gag. It's like, not again. This movie and 13 Days has something in common. They both lost money. Just wonder if any disaster movies have made money. I may do some research on that and look it up. I'm hard-pressed to think of a disaster movie that I actually enjoyed. I'm not saying there wasn't one, but I have to sit and think about that for a while. I think it's just, they're generally so unsophisticated. It's formulaic and predictable, and, they give lip service to so many things, and to me I won't say they're boring, the predictability of them. Back to net, WB5OZL.
Okie dokie, thank you, Brenda. Next up is Samuel. Now, I don't see him on Echolink now. He may have just given up, but maybe he went over to radio, so I'll go ahead and ask. W9VPU, Samuel, are you out there? Okay. Well, we couldn't hear him. I'm not sure why. I may have been able to do some tweaking here, but since I'm net control, it's really hard to do that at the same time. So he skedaddled. Next up is Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, your thoughts on the plot for our fine film tonight from KE5ICX.
KI5KWG. Well, for disaster movie, they worked in an awful lot. And we had a space attack. It was either going to be a comet or a meteor. And we had a tidal wave. And we had an avalanche. And we had a building collapse. And I was waiting for the lava and the sharks, and we didn't get those. But 4 out of 6 is not bad. I was baffled until I read IMDb's trivia contributions. I was baffled about the baseball bat in the final scene, and I found that interesting story behind that. He had made an off-color. Oh, pardon me. Brian Keith had made a off-color. His character did that I won't repeat over the radio statement. About basically a saying about the, I guess it was the LA Dodgers, I've forgotten now, then the New York. And it was a not pleasant thing to say about the baseball team. And it was like the only English he knew. He learned it from a cab driver. And so it was kind of an embarrassing moment when apparently that went out. Well, using the words that he did ended up giving him an R rating, so they had to delete the lines where he kept dropping that particular word, and so they could get it back down to a PG rating, which removed the setup for the joke, and there was the baseball bat. So I'll let you all go research that on your own. Let me reset. A plot hole that just because they went to such trouble to give us the ski bunny character overacting as she goes through some Austrian town, saying good morning or guten Morgen to everybody in town who looked as if they'd never seen her before in their lives. And then there was no reason for this 15-minute scene. We just had an avalanche scene. But why were they apparently going to develop this character? I thought that was quite curious. Brenda already mentioned the Brian Keith being fluent and Natalie Wood being fluent in Russian. So that was kind of cool, I thought. And finally, I'll save that for later. So I guess that's what I've got on the plot. I liked Sean's comment. I made a note after he said it about the scientist having a yacht. I had just watched a 2010 film where Dr. Floyd is also just a scientist, but he has a modern seaside home with a specialized dolphin entrance. And this is all while he's working on the Very Large Array in New Mexico, which isn't known for their seaside homes or their dolphins. So, kind of not realistic. Okay, KI5, KWG, back to net.
I had not thought of that. Very interesting comments, at least about 2010. But yes, the other part is interesting too. A little bit of trivia. I didn't know that Brian Keith could speak Russian, but apparently he can. Okay, well, he's dead now, so he doesn't speak Russian or English. Next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, your thoughts on the plot for our film Meteor from 1979.
KG5BZW. I only got through about an hour of the film, and that was with repeated periods in between watching I don't really have much to say plot-wise, but it was really kind of amusing to me that they spent so much time and effort on showing these the models. They really look. I know this. I'm skipping ahead to the third section, but it's. I don't know. I don't really have much to say plot-wise because I mean, I guess it's really it's just the whole montage scenes for all of them is like, oh, we spent a lot of money. I kept on thinking, oh, we spent a lot of money on making these things, and yeah, they were kind of cool looking, but just the music simultaneous with that, and it's just going on and on. It's like I can't really even enjoy the and I thought the photography was a little bit. They should have used a lens of a longer focal length or something. They look like models. Anyway, and the avalanche scene was really, I don't know, the can't think of stuff that's really, I mean, I'm thinking stuff that you would normally talk about in other sections and whatnot, but it's also this very tedious and boring, and I know no real conflict of interest to be resolved in any section of what I mean. They tried, the actors tried, but it just kind of like the actors did their thing, and then wow, no consequence of that. I feel like I feel a little bit deja vu. No, it's something else. I don't know. What was it? I don't know. Golly, and last week's film was surprisingly probably. I didn't necessarily. No, I didn't the film, but for all the good actors, plays, for whatever reason, I don't know what my weird thing was Carl Malden, but I always liked watching him act. This was really a very boring film. Maybe had I seen the third act with Bill gets destroyed and such that the control center or whatever. I'm only. I was thinking this weird deja vu. Like maybe I have seen like the last third or something because some of that sounds familiar. But anyway, it was hard to keep on watching this film. KC5BCW, back in that.
Right, thank you, Jay. Let's see, we're at the bottom of the list. I will now ask if anyone else would like to join us. Tonight's movie is Meteor from 1979. Please come with your call, your name, and did you see our fine film? You don't necessarily have to have seen it to check in, but please do check in. Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and make my comments. I don't have a lot here because I think everybody pretty much covered it. Just some minor plot points. I know we're going to get into special effects and not so special effects, so I'm going to deliberately avoid that because there's a number of things that fall into play that are logic puzzles for me as far as the the storyline goes. So there is one thing that I thought was rather interesting. Why on earth are we building this command and control center underneath New York City? To me, it doesn't make much sense. Either from a NASA standpoint, why would I build something underneath New York? Are we trying to protect it? Because it doesn't make any sense. If it's some sort of national defense thing, the first city they're going to blow up outside of Washington, D.C. is going to be New York City. Come on. So you're going to build your command and control center underneath New York City in granite. That's going to be real easy. Oh, by the way, where are you going to put the antenna stuff? Over on Broadway? What's that all about? I thought that the whole thing was a bit odd that they picked New York City to do their little secret lair thing, and the secret let's go in James Bond style, as somebody else mentioned, into the facility. With the one guy who's bored out of his mind, he's the one that takes care of letting people in and out. And sign the badge? Here, please sign your badge. Who cares? You're already in the top secret facility. What does signing the badge do for you? Idiocy. Another government operation. It made no sense why they were there or why. They should be out in New Mexico somewhere, or inside of the Rocky Mountains, or in Alaska or something like that. But I guess you can't go out for dinner at world premiere restaurants in those locations, which is I think what Natalie and Sean Connery wanted to do. So that was a bit odd, I thought. Now here's another thing that drives me nuts with things like this is the fact that they have these respective rocket platforms out in space, right? And in the secret conferences, top secret conferences, nobody seems to be aware of these gigantic platforms sitting out there, rockets. Now, granted, they're made from, I don't know, old Atlas toy rockets or something that they, model rockets, and they strapped them all together. And so maybe in orbit they're really, really tiny because they're only the size of like 2 feet long or something, and you can't see them. But they're supposed to be these huge rockets, probably too big for using for atomic use. But at any rate, they're pointed down at Earth, both platforms for Earth and for the United States and for Russia. And somehow or another, they can't see these with telescopes. There's nobody at the CIA that can look up and check this stuff out. There's no, they're gigantic. As we've talking about stuff with spacecraft flying over, when you have something really big, you can actually image the things, but apparently that didn't matter. Oh, and another sidelight on that. Is this thing in geosynchronous orbit, or is it in low Earth orbit? And if they're going to point it at the United States, do they have to keep pointing it at the United States as it goes around on the other side of the Earth? I don't know. If it's in geosynchronous orbit and it's pointed in the same way, and they had that crude thing with the protractor, they were trying to figure out whether it was pointed towards Earth or out into space. They didn't, I would think that you'd be able to see all that stuff very easily with your little ASCO telescope, but what do I know? Oh well. Other things, I agree with what Tony said. Tony said it best. They had an opportunity to go ahead and develop 3 different plots. In his case, he gave 3 different ones, and they didn't do anything. That's what made the movie really boring. It just kind of plodded along. And then when they got to the special effects that weren't so special, it's like, geez, this is terrible. We had 2001: A Space Odyssey. It was 1,000,000 times better special effects than what this film had. And they even, said, oh, well, the special effects are pretty good for this movie. No, they're not. They're not good at all. It's American International special effects, which aren't special. But I digress. I'm not going to go there. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the top of the list. We will talk about the acting. We had super actors, A-list actors. We had B-list actors. We had everybody in Hollywood working on this film. except people that probably would have been better in it. But that's another story. Let's start at the top. Tony, what did you think of the acting and characterization for our fine film Meteor from 1979 from KE5 ICX?
Well, Tom, thank you very much for being net control, and thank you for your fond memory of my comments. I know it's tough to go first because then everyone forgets about me by the end. But I want to keep my comments really short because I found the characters totally unmemorable. You know, some of them have great voices. Carl Malden, Henry Fonda. You just, as soon as they start talking, you know exactly who they are. But unfortunately, in this movie, they had nothing to say. I found all the characters to be static. I'm not going to talk about them anymore. I just want to get ahead to round 3 and trash the special effects. NT5TM.
Oh, thank you, Tony. I think everybody is really, that's going to be the heart of the, or I should say, stabbing in the heart of this film will be the special effects. So I can understand you're anxious to get there, and we'll be there in just a little bit. But first, we got to stop for some food. Next up, Kane, K5ANE. Kane, your thoughts on characterization and the acting in our fine film for this week from KE5 ICX.
Well, there was Sean Connery being Sean Connery, and yeah, that was pretty much it. The rest of the other actors and characters were, yeah, definitely pretty flat. Although I do have to disagree slightly with the nobody ever changed. That one stereotypical Air Force dude that's just questioning whether or not, you know, the sky is falling. He ultimately came around in the end and was admitted he was wrong, you know, minutes before he died. So what good that did, I don't know. But somebody did change in this movie. Of course, it didn't really mean anything. So did it actually mean anything at all for anybody in this movie? I don't know. In the end, though, yeah, there wasn't really a lot of good acting in this at all. Characters are just the characters on the script, and that was about it. Nobody really came through on this, and nobody really showed a lot of extra energy or anything like that. I don't know. They just really didn't feel alive, if you know what I mean. This is K5ANE, back to net.
Okay, thank you, Kane. Yes, flat. Very flat. Next, Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, I know you've got some notes on this one. What did you think of the acting and characterization for our fine film, Meteor, from 1979?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, sorry to disappoint you, Tom. I don't have a whole lot on this either. It was pretty, very stereotypic characters. Yeah, obviously Sean Connery was playing Mr. Bond. I mean, you know, Sean Connery. You know, the Russians were all typical, you know, Russians, you know, once again, just being stubborn. Obviously, our military leader, which was mentioned earlier by Kane, was a typical over-the-top, totally just being a real you-know-what. And, yeah, he did come around at the end, but, you know, let's be honest, if he acted like that in real life, you would have never made it to that position. But they always got to have somebody to give some resistance. Once again, it didn't really add to the film. So I don't know why they felt they got to do that. We obviously had the love interest there. And, you know, I guess she was okay. Just, you know. So yeah, there wasn't really, the characters were kind of boring. Wasn't a whole lot, but that's pretty typical in these type of disaster movies. They usually don't get very deep into character because it's just all about the disaster and, you know, following the typical plots of a disaster movie. So there's usually never very much depth in any of these. It's pretty rare. And there are rare occasions, maybe. You know, it's, for the most part, there's not. I did think it was kind of funny. Well, it wasn't really funny, but I didn't think of it until a while ago, but you know, he knows this disaster is coming, Sean Connery's character, which I can't remember his name, but yet, towards the end there, when he knew that there was a chance that maybe things weren't going to work out, he didn't bother to call his wife and say, you know, get the kids to safety or anything like that. So, you know, even if he didn't like his wife anymore, you'd think he would have cared about his kids. So, I thought that was kind of strange. But, yeah, pretty bland characters. Like everybody said, it's the special effects that make this movie not so special. So, anyway, back to that. KB9S, okay.
I'm seeing a consensus firming up here. Next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, your comments on characterization and the fine acting in our fine film from KE5I6.
This is WB50ZL. Well, I've been puzzling over how they managed to get these actors to be in this movie. I don't know too much about the people behind it, the writers or directors or anything, but these, at that time, were all A-list actors, and at the top of their game at the time. They were not washed up. So I was just really curious as to what induced them to make this money. It wasn't a particularly high-budget movie, so I don't know if anybody got elaborate scores. I know Sean Connery probably did for a lot of his movies. Anyway, I guess we'll never know. There were 15, if you go to Wikipedia, there are 15 actors listed by name. 14 of them are dead now, so I think this movie might be some kind of a curse or something. The only one that's not dead is Sybil Danning, and she was a girl skater, a very, very minor part. They didn't even have a name in the movie. Of course, Henry Fonda didn't either. But, as far as characterization, I have no complaints. They're all good actors. They play their parts well. And, you know, there's not a whole lot you can do with a bad script. So, I think they tried. Okay, back to that, WE50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda, and thank you for the information on all the dead actors. It's very, very suspicious. I agree with you. Next up, Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, your comments on the acting and characterization from KE5I6.
KI5KWG. Well, Brenda, I have to correct you. We already heard it from Tom. Henry Fonda was playing President Lincoln. Let's see. I had the note about Sybil Danning as well. But I have an answer on why. Because I had the question too about you got all of these A-list actors doing this really mediocre film, and what were they thinking? And when I was looking up different ones, it was like, where do I know this person from and such, it turns out that they all are like a matrix. They've worked with each other in groups of 3 usually, so you know, A, B, and C work. Yeah. So I kind of think this was a gathering of friends. I really think that had a lot to do with it. I think they said, hey, if you're going to do it, I'll do it. And that's how this ended up happening. I'm not sure that was for better or for worse, but that's what I think this was. Yeah, they were all good actors, and just a very unmemorable film. Very, very sorry that it worked out that way, but it is. KI5, KWG, back to net.
Jeez, I thought you'd rip them a new one, but no. You just felt pity for them. Okay, well, we'll move along. Hopefully the special effects will get the appropriate attention that they deserve, even if the acting was somewhat mediocre from great epic actors. Next up is Jay, KG5BZWJ. Your thoughts on characterization and the acting from KE5ICX.
This is KG5BZW. I don't have much to say on this section. I had thought of researching, well, if this was such a career breaker, if people had, gone on to other things because of this film or whatnot, but I was too, well, not so much too lazy, but I didn't quite even get through to the film, so didn't really have time to do that. So anyway, I'm spinning too long. I kind of want to join in on bashing the special effects, not that I already haven't already done that. But anyway, KG5 is going to get back to that.
Okay, well, very good. Well, that one went really fast. I guess with all these epic actors and not much to actually material to use, I guess that just means nobody cared. Okay, let's see, we're at the bottom of the list. I'll ask if anybody else is out there who would like to check in. If you'd like to join us and have not checked in, please come to your call. Your name, did you see Meteor from 1979? Okay, hearing none, my turn. Let's see. Who did I hate the most? Well, or like the least? Sean Connery was a bit of a disappointment. I mean, he just played Sean Connery. I agree. Natalie Wood was good as Natalia, whatever, Doskaya, or whatever. She was pretty good. Carl Malden played Carl Malden. He had the hat. I kept waiting for him to pull out his American Express card and say, "I never leave home without it." Brian Keith always looks like he's got a headache as Duboff. He was moderately entertaining, but again, it was just sort of whatever. And then Martin Landau is an actor who is always curious. He got better in his later years before he died, and I think after he died, he really reached his peak. Dead actors can sometimes really pull out really good performances. And Martin Landau is one of those people. But at the time that this movie came out, it was after his Space 1999 thing, and he was playing Commander Koenig. And essentially, the General Adlin character was Commander Koenig or Martin Landau shouting, probably Martin Landau shouting. So I found him over the top. And someone else mentioned, I think you wouldn't get into a position of power like that by screaming and yelling. Unless you're George C. Scott, in which case you can get away with it and be funny at the same time, like in Dr. Strangelove. So, at any rate, I thought that was kind of something. Some of these people I didn't even realize, like Trevor Howard, who did the narration. He was also Michael Hughes. Strangely, I didn't recognize him. Richard Dysart, I should have recognized. I did not. Joseph Campanella, I did, and he was okay. Some of these other people, B.B. Beach, I didn't recognize her, Kirk's girlfriend. Some of these others I don't know. So, but at any rate, they didn't have much to say. So unfortunately, nothing went very far. So they used their character voices, their inside character voices, to be able to channel something that looked like more than just boringness that occurred. At any rate, it looks like they spent all the money on the cast, or these people were hard up for cash, but I do recall, and Brenda mentioned it too, they were really at the height of their career, so they should have been able to command pretty good salaries for the ensemble cast. So all that money went to actors' wages, I would assume, and not to the special or not so special effects. Okay, with that, we're going to go to the top of the list, and now we get to discuss what we really want to do, trashing the special effects. This can also include music if you'd like, or anything else. If you've forgotten something along the way that you would like to discuss, you may do so during your part of this round. So here we go. Back to Tony, NT5TM. Tony, special effects. Go get 'em, Tiger, from KE5ICX.
Oh, I won't be able to do a good job on my own, but I am confident. You know, it's great to be part of a team, and I know that I'm just the leadoff hitter here. We're going to load up the bases and drive in a home run, and anything I leave out, someone else is going to do, because there's just so many bad things to say here. I do want to give a little nod to the music. I thought it was really predictable and annoying, and I mean, it existed. I guess it was better than silence, but there was just nothing interesting there for me with the music. And yes, I should have been taking notes. Whoever called me on the Major General was not completely static and did learn. Yes, you were right. I was wrong. Yes, he was our little token character who learned something during the movie, and I kind of forgot about that. Whoopsie. But it's just, the special effects were so appallingly wrong. Now, wait, I do have to give them consolation prize. It was kind of neat that the inexplicable space probe on its way to deep space that got thwacked when the comet hit the asteroid looked like Skylab, because, I mean, Skylab wasn't really designed to go into deep space, but okay. You know, I sure do like Skylab. I've got Homesteading Space open right here. I haven't finished my current reread. Made no sense and was out of place. Oh boy. The asteroids look like hunks of torn-up moldy bread. They didn't look anything like the battered, rounded things that we actually see in space. I don't know, or maybe dehydrated cheese, but certainly nothing made out of rock, like an asteroid, or metal, you know, like an asteroid. I guess my other thing, before I turn it over to another teammate to get another good solid hit here, is the red lights, the out-of-focus tail lights that seem to serve as every kind of meteor and every kind of explosion. They didn't seem to have, there were some diesel fuel explosions, but there were so many things that just looked like a red out-of-focus tail light. It was really dumb. I didn't like them. They weren't believable. They didn't look like a meteor of any size, big or small or medium. They looked like an out-of-focus tail light, or maybe a UFO from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where things weren't supposed to look like meteors. NT5TM, back to net.
Oh, all very good points, Tony. I forgot about the Skylab because that was like, it was at the beginning of the movie and I was falling asleep shortly thereafter. Next is Kane, K5ANE. Kane, your comments on special effects, music, whatever you'd like. Please go ahead.
The models were very strange, and they were even poorly done in the end, in that the way they were doing the compositing just looked absolutely terrible. And I don't think it's just the quality of the stream or whatever that I was watching, but like different layers would be like different levels of in focus or out of focus. So some things would look really sharp, but things that were, you know, I guess supposed to be kind of in the foreground-ish were really kind of fuzzier things. And the lighting of the different layers that they were compositing or whatever, it just looked all wrong. Like, so many of these scenes looked so wrong. Largely because, they're using vastly different sized models for these, I'm guessing, and needing to blow up or shrink down to composite them together. But, I mean, we're making models here. Why don't we just properly scale these models instead of playing games and being absolutely terrible at it? There's so many things about the physics of things in this movie, even ignoring the idea of all the nukes and things like that and blowing up the asteroid and blah, blah, blah. I mean, we've seen that in a bunch of other movies, and we don't need to go into it, but I guess, and we also have seen some of these other things in other movies, but like, oh yeah, we have this manned space mission to Mars, and oh yeah, there's this funny thing happening in the asteroid belt. You mind swinging by real quick and checking it out? It'll only take a few hours out of your trip. How fast are these people moving? How much fuel did they bring? That's just absurdity. There's so many things technically wrong with this movie. It's absurd. And I really agree with you. Why would they put this facility in New York? That just doesn't make any sense. Why, like, that's the worst place to put something like this, I think. And yeah, there's so much wrong with this. And it's not even just questionable acting or things like that. I mean, it's a James Bond movie without the guns. It's Armageddon without the comedy. It's, I don't know, just absolute ridiculousness about how they managed to actually make this movie without anybody questioning, maybe we should be doing something else. This is K5A&E, back to net.
Very good. Well, I do have a bit of good news in all of this. I did read through some of the background story on Wiki, and one of the things they mentioned is that American International went bankrupt on this film. And Filmways, yeah, the TV production people bought out the studio. So there you go, a happy ending. American International would not make another movie ever again. Okay, next up is Brenda. Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, what do you got on special effects, the music, whatever you want to bring to tonight's motion picture? Please go ahead. KE5ICX.
This is WB5OZL. I don't have a whole lot to add. There's a lot of predictability in this movie. And when you have to have that many disasters, you've got to have a lot of special effects. Unfortunately, a lot of them were borrowed from other movies, stock footage. You get the impression that a disaster movie is just a vehicle for special effects, and that's its purpose for being. Music was okay. I didn't think it was anything spectacular. But, well, I think we've beaten this dead horse enough. I think I'm done. WB5OZL, back to that.
Man, everybody's just rolling over and playing dead. How could you do that? This movie sucked in so many ways, and you got nothing to say? All right, Cruz can help us out. KI5KWG. Cruz, your comments on the special effects for our fine film. KE5ICX.
KI5KWG. Well, briefly going back to the characterizations, yeah, I didn't rip anybody up on it because, frankly, I liked all the actors. They fond memories of everybody who was in here. Just not any of those fond memories from this film. And so they're all capable and popular and easy to like. And but this movie just was nothing. Now, special effects. the big mystery, of course, is how did you end up with these? And again, it was IMDb trivia to the rescue. Somebody said these models were 22 inches, and you would normally expect these to be measured in feet, and they were 22 inches. And it was because the first one, we don't know what they were the first special effects person was fired, and they hired somebody else, and I think that person did the avalanche scene and the Hong Kong tsunami scene. And then they fired them and built up these little 22-inch models, which you just could not zoom in on and make look real. So that was the explanation for why that part was such a disaster. I pointed out last night, why during a tsunami did they have everybody running downhill in every scene in terror? It's like, no, y'all are going the wrong way. Yeah, for 3 years after the first Star Wars, we had higher expectations of space special effects than this film delivered, and that was sad. Pretty much inexcusable. All right, KI5, KWG, back to net.
All right, thank you, Cruz, and thank you for the explanation as to the fine special effects. That helps a lot. Next is Jay, KG5VZW. Jay, whatever you want to talk about, special effects, music, something you missed on the first couple of rounds, please go ahead. You're up from KE5ICX.
This is KG5VZW. Alright. There's been plenty of comments about the malls. And hearing that these guys got fired, it's just, it explains a lot, actually. The editors, I guess, did what they could with what they had, and, yeah, I actually like the special effects from the avalanche scene. Some of them. Some of it was obviously composite. I mean, it's just even in decent films from there, it's for doing some of the stuff that you want to do. I think it's kind of hard. But that hearing others is like, oh, this is there was this other disaster film, Avalanche. It's like, oh, they may have even done whatever good. Conventional special effects, whatever good, I assume from some that looked, is like pretty reasonable in terms of how I would hope you would. Besides all that, even the whole scene was a little bit like, why thing do they focus on the Swiss Alps and the thing it just seems to I guess they had to stop footage and it's like, oh, we need to have a disaster, and it's like, well, what about this thing in Swiss Alps? Oh, maybe that could work. So, I mean, it's not even so much the special effects there. I mean, which I still say some of that was decent, but it seems like it may have came from elsewhere. the extended shots of the moles, and I don't know. I feel like I'm missing half the movie because it seems like a lot of the disaster stuff happens in the parts that I did not see. So I gotta re-echo about the meteors themselves. I didn't really even understand the obsession with red. What they were thinking with that. I mean, the meteors, that anybody, you see nice, don't often see red. I'm trying to think of what you would have to have in the mirror for it to even look reddish. I guess there's been a few I've seen that have a yellow tinge, but when I saw back, in fact, I was driving in Park County, it had a nice green tint. That was so strange, and the asteroids themselves were a little weird, but whatever. I feel like I'm adding as much as to the movie as the movie is adding to people's lives at this point, so I need to shut up. Can't you probably do that?
Okie dokie. Thank you, Jay. Let's see. My comments on this one, I can't add a lot to it. Now learning, I did read the wiki in there on the special effects and the fact that multiple teams were fired. And as each team was fired, a new team came on board, and they had to reshoot special effects with the leftover money, whatever was still in the budget. That was, like, terrible. God, no wonder the special effects were so terrible, because they had no money by the time it was all over. Let's see. The music is by John Williams. Now, he left the project early, so mainly, I think the only thing we got out of him was the main theme, which, by the way, does appear frequently on compilations for music, for motion pictures, even though Meteor itself sucked. The main theme is a fairly memorable one. I have more than one recording of it myself, strangely, although in recent years that's kind of gone away because there's been a lot of newer films that have quite good scores. But back in the 70s and the 80s, 80s I should say, this movie popped up with that theme quite frequently on compilation. So I won't complain there. By the way, Williams went on to do Steven Spielberg's 1941, which, by the way, is excellent score. I have a super deluxe version of that thing. I love that score to death. So, and taking John Williams off of this project and putting him in that film was just great. I think really wonderful music. Let's see, what else have we got? Special effects, everybody talks about it, how terrible they were. No doubt about it. Too small, very easy to see that. You need large models. You need to be able to shoot them at reduced speed with large exposures and small apertures so that you can get a depth of field that works really well. That's why special effects take so long, is that frequently you're taking these shots and you're doing them at a very slow rate of speed. It takes a long time and it's very meticulous. That didn't happen. Silly, I don't know, thing they had, a food roaster or something they used for it. Pretty terrible overall. I did love this Skylab. That was great, watching the thing fly to Mars. And as someone had mentioned earlier, and it's very, very true, how big is space? Well, apparently not very big at all, because it's got little tiny rockets and things are 22 inches long, and I think the Skylab is probably the size of a Revell model, 1/144 scale or something. I don't know where they found that stuff. It was kind of interesting, though. They did have on the walls in some of the different sets some really interesting artwork. Some of the NASA shuttle stuff was kind of cool. I don't know where that was or what. I don't think it was made for the movie. I think it was sourced from elsewhere. I thought that looked pretty good. Some of the models were interesting. The Ranger spacecraft that they showed on the desk, that's pretty old. Unless the guy that was one of his projects he did years ago. It's a bit odd that they would have that there. It's supposed to be the modern technology and really latest, greatest stuff. I would think they'd have something other than that. But wherever they went, maybe they picked them up at garage sales or something. So, at any rate, wasn't too bad. I won't say, as far as set dressings and that, they weren't too bad. Although the computers were pretty primitive even for that time period as well. But it was 79, so what can you say? Okay, that's it from me. I'll go ahead and ask if anybody has any final comments. Please come with your call and we'll go down the list. If you've got something else you want to say, now's the time. Please come with your call. Okay, I hear none. So next week's movie, I'm trying to debate on this one. I found this one. It's called Trancers from 1984. It's only an hour and 16 minutes long. But I also found something else while looking in an unrelated thing. I did find a free stream of Airport 79, The Concorde, which is a really funny movie. It was never intended to be funny, but it is. So I may just substitute that one in. Look through your inbox tomorrow morning. Take a look and see which film it will be. I think I'm going to put in Concorde just because it's such an absurdly bad film that's really fun to watch. So that's what we have. Anybody who's listening who doesn't already know this, if you want to get on the email list, just send me an email to my call sign, KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-ray at yahoo.com. So you'd like to be put on the movie list. I will put you on the movie list and you'll get whatever the movie is, usually Sunday sometime in the morning. Once I wake up and get my morning stuff done, I'll write it up and send it off to you. Otherwise, you can go to Facebook and look for Afterglow Movie, 2 words, Afterglow and Movie, find the information there. We also have been picking up some business and watching movies on Friday evening. Just start your version of the film up however you do it at the sound of go at 8 o'clock on Friday night, and we kind of have a discussion back and forth on Facebook. So if you want to do that, just let me know as well. That's it from me. It is midnight. I say 7-3 to everybody. I wasn't sure we were going to have a whole night of activities, but it worked out exactly that way. So we'll see you again next time. 7-3, everybody. Have a good evening. I'm going to go watch Spentooni, I guess, but probably going to go to bed because I'm really tired. See y'all. This is KE5ICX. I'm now clear.
Elvis has left the building.